Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. We're here today to have a little bit of a discussion, one that I've been putting off, not so much putting off, but trying to wrap my head around how I was going to break it all down, because there's just so many random thoughts and feelings I have regarding this topic that extends in a lot of different directions, and at the end of the day, I'm, of course, talking about the straight edge discussion that I said I would have back after I did my AMA. A lot of you guys want to hear me talk further about it. I know Lone Wolf even mentioned some other people he was watching who were taking a sober approach to their life. So there's so many things to say, right? And I'm not looking to assault anyone who does drink. I have friends who drink, but I am looking to kind of talk about why I'm straight edge, what it all means to me. And, within that, there is inherently hate for the negative elements of alcohol, mostly, and of course, hardcore drugs, cigarettes. These are things that control people's lives. And I know not everyone is addicted, not everyone abuses, but the fact is a staggering amount of people do just in the US. We're not even talking about worldwide, abuse alcohol, big time. It's one of the most abused drugs, and it's also completely legal. Completely legal. So, there's a lot to be said about that, and I have a lot of thoughts and opinions on it, and I would very much say that knowledge about those things, the opinions I'm going to speak about these things, are fueled by my lifestyle choice as someone who has been straight edge since I knew what straight edge was, and in many ways, way before that, not even really knowing what it was at all. So I identified with the idea of straight edge when I was actually 14 years old. I was in middle school at that point in time, and had been listening to a lot of hardcore music already. It had been something that I'd been exposed to. I was listening to Slipknot when I was really young, and then I kind of fused into more traditional hardcore, and Minor Threat would come to mind eventually. Ian MacKaye, of course, the man behind the completely unintentional coining of the term straight edge. So let's start with that discussion. Ian MacKaye, lead singer of a hardcore band during the 80s called Minor Threat. So Ian MacKaye kind of looks at the whole hardcore scene. He sees all the kids just suffering, destroying their lives with alcohol and drug abuse, ridiculous amounts of what you would call free sex going around. Not a good scenario. And he's like, oh, why? What? This isn't, you're not rebelling against anything. You're simply destroying your own lives. I mean, the plain and simple fact is, the rich dudes up in the stockbrokers and, the businessmen and your parents, they're all drinking, and some of them are even doing some pretty hardcore drugs. So you're not really rebelling against anything. You're actually just falling in line with what society expects of you. And he was like, no thanks. And he ends up writing a song called Straight Edge, which ends up becoming the terminology behind the lifestyle decision of straight edge, which basically identifies as no drugs, no alcohol, no free sex. Of course, alcohol is a drug, but anyways, back then that's how it was considered, and in many ways, people today still don't consider alcohol a drug. Now, the other element that would fall in line with this would be the X. The X that was marked on people's hands and still is today when they were underage going into a venue that served alcohol at a show. People still do it. If you're not 21 and you go to a show and they're selling alcohol, they're going to put a giant X on your hand if you don't have an ID saying you're over 21. So that became symbolic of that. And a lot of people have SXE or 3 X's for tattoos or, shirts. And that's sort of the symbiology of the idea of straight edge. I myself have 2 X's on my forearm, and in the center is Bullet Bill, who has the 3rd X on his forehand. I actually drew that up really quickly, and my tattoo guy ended up doing it for me. And I put since 1999. Now, I know that when I was born, I had no idea what straight edge was, but I may be one of those rare cases of someone who has never had a sip or a puff. I've seen the damage that these things can do from a very young age. And so before I even had the opportunity to be, to try something like this, let's just see what it's about. Let's see what cigarettes and alcohol are about. I already was like, no. Think of it as being born and then never eating French fries. That's how a lot of people look at it. They're like, what? You're joking, right? And there's no doubt that at some point in my life, people are going to question that, whether or not I'm lying about that. And I could really give 2 damns. To be completely honest, it's whatever. But it is something that definitely applies to my perspective. Because a lot of people like to go with the whole perspective of, man, but you don't know what it's like because you've never been there. And I'm always like, yeah, you're right. I don't really know what battery acid tastes like. I should probably try some to find out. And a lot of people may say, well, that's a ridiculous comparison, but it's not. I don't need to be damaged by something or push something so far to see when it hurts in order to know that it can hurt. I don't need to stick my hand on the frying pan to know it's hot. And it's the same thing with, I don't need to consume alcohol and become addicted to it or have an addiction to nicotine or some sort of a drug to know that it's no good for my body, to know that it's no good for my mind and my overall morale and mentality in life. I don't need to try it to know. Trust me, that's why I made the decision I made from a very young age. Now, that decision, why did I make that decision from such a young age? Why was I already in that mindset? And I would say that before I can even remember, I already was aware that before my dad had married my mom, he had dealt with alcohol addiction. In fact, it almost destroyed his life. And there were a lot of people there, his parole officer at one point, who had given him a lot of second chances, recognizing, hey, you are a good guy. You're not going to go out and stab your girlfriend after this. I know you're a good guy. I've seen you because I work with a lot of really bad people. And this man, gave him the chance that he needed to do what he needed to do to get clean and to move forward with his life. And my dad's an amazing dude, easily one of my heroes. Busted his ass day in and day out working at a factory job to make sure that my brother and myself and my mom always had a roof over our head and that we had all of the cool things that I had growing up, that I think in many ways, kept me away from all of that. And I mad respect for my dad. He got clean, he married my mom, and if it wasn't for that, I may not be here right now talking to you guys. So that's the next step forward, I think, was that a lot of people do drugs. They get involved with alcohol. They start going to parties on the weekends because they have nothing else to do. Ask yourself, if you're someone who drank in high school or in college or even drinks now on the weekends, why do you do it? There's some people, they get over the phase, right? They waste 2, 3, 4 years of their life drinking. And I'm kind of like thinking to myself, man, I wasted 2 years of my life after high school just not knowing what I wanted to do. I can't imagine wasting 4 years of my life just going to parties every single weekend. I regret the fact that I didn't start YouTube a hell of a lot sooner. Had I did start YouTube right out of high school, that was when YouTube was up on the up and up, man. I'm pissed at myself just because I didn't think of it. I didn't have the passion and the will. I was too busy riding BMX and just playing video games without any purpose. So, I can't, yeah. Okay. But seriously, ask yourself that question. So for me, it was like, I always had better things to do. I had a BMX bike. I spent my paper out money on, a $600 felt bike. Scotty, I think Scotty Cramner was just getting into felt a couple of years after I bought that bike. But I was huge into BMX. My dad always had us in motorcycles and, we were out hunting and shooting. I had so many things in my life that I could partake in, so many awesome things. My parents paid for tournament paintball for 3 years. They bought me great markers. My brother and I, Titmans and all this crazy stuff for Christmas and all this, money put into paintball so we could go run local tournaments. They always fueled my ability to do anything I wanted to do. And I totally respected that and appreciated that and took mad advantage of that. It was just always out doing these things that I think very much influenced who I am today. Positively influenced my willingness to do whatever I want, to not look or listen to the naysayers who are like, yeah, good luck with that, and just say, I'm going to do it anyways. And I'm going to shove it down your throat when I'm successful. So I had a lot of great opportunities. And I know not many people are that fortunate. There's people far worse off, than I ever was. There's people who are in terrible neighborhoods who have really no choice as to what they're going to do that weekend. Plain and simple fact is you try and hide inside of your house, you become part of a gang, you get shot at by a gang, you get involved in the sale of drugs and the consumption of drugs and alcohol. There are people who, that's their life. They have nothing else. They don't have a skate park to go to. They don't have parents buying them paintballs. And I think there are people who live in, the blue collar lifestyle like I did, grew up with parents giving them everything they could ever want, who completely, abused that. And we're just like, yeah, whatever, mom, dad, baseball, psh, I'm just going to go get wasted. I'm going to get addicted on pills. And I saw this happen. These were the things that influenced me as I was growing up, watching friends deal with addiction. I had a close friend who dealt with addiction, serious pills addiction, just getting pills wherever he could, in and out of rehab. I don't even know if he's clean now. Haven't even heard of him. I hope that he is. I hope that he's clean. I hope that he's on the right path. But I had friends who at one point in time stood alongside of me. I remember very vividly being at the local trails, Collins trails as we call it, dirt jumping trails, being offered cigarettes and booze by older kids, and saying, no thanks, dude. They're like, why? Well, I've got better things to do. And I was there. My friends were right alongside of me saying the exact same thing. Flash forward 3-4 years later, and there they are. Not with me anymore. Let's just put it that way. Dealing with a lot of serious problems. Like I said, friends actually falling to legitimate addictions, alcohol, drug addictions. So there was constantly things in my life that were just like, nope. Yes. Don't need any of that. Like, let's just, to me, that stuff didn't even exist. Like, it still doesn't in a lot of ways. Like, it's non-existent for my life. Do I have friends who, have a beer every now and then who are capable of doing that? Yeah, I do. Do I disrespect them, or do I have a problem with them because of that? No, that's their life. And you know what? They're able to still live a positive and happy life. And that's great for them, but for me, it's a matter of, I don't need it at all. I don't want it to be part of my life at all. And I think that had I done like many people do growing up, like I said, I would have wasted even more time than I did, or potentially I would have been stuck in that and I would never be where I am today. Now, I'm not trying to say that you have to be sober and clean to be successful. As we know, there are plenty of people in our history who have had serious alcohol and drug addictions who have been successful, and many of them are also dead. So there's that side of it. A little bit of bias there, but let's go Joplin, Hendrix. The list just goes absolutely on and on and on. I guess we could throw Cobain in there. I can name a bunch more. The dude from Sublime, whose name escapes me, like, the list is so long. Yeah, they're successful. They're also dead because of their problems and their addictions. And I think a lot of people recognize, there are massive benefits to living a sober life. Huge benefits. Especially for people who have, had alcohol be such an integral part of their life, who have had it fuel who they are and how they function. Those people are the ones who see the serious benefits, obviously. Chad Muska, actually, has been sober for going on 3 years, and the dude has created some amazing art, and he's somebody who has openly admitted several times that he has done more with his life and been happier with what he has done in the life that he has lived since he has been sober. Let's hit up some hard facts. Okay, just for the sake of talking about, my personal problem with alcohol. Do I want to see it made illegal? No. I think everything should be about, like, here's a substance. It's all about how you treat it. So right now, at least as it's been most recently tested in the United States, this is just the U.S., by the way, 17.6 million people, or what would be 1 in every 12 adults, suffer from alcohol abuse or dependency. Yeah, it's a pretty wicked large number, right? It's a pretty devastating number. And here's always been the kicker for me. And I know this is going to be like, Tony, what are you even talking about? You're not even talking about straight edge anymore. Well, again, like I said, this is just a compilation of my thoughts on all of this stuff. And, why I have problems with the way things are handled, at least in where I live, where I can identify with the problems in the States. Alcohol is a completely legal substance. It damages millions of lives on a yearly basis, and who knows how many more people are killed because someone else chose to abuse alcohol. Those are numbers that are very hard to identify and to track down. Meanwhile, you have marijuana, which has been illegal. Yes, it's getting better, I understand, but it's been illegal for a very long time in the United States, in almost all of the states. A substance that has significantly more positive properties than alcohol will ever have. At the end of the day, what does alcohol actually do positively? It makes you feel happy. Okay, it's a drug. You use it, you abuse it. It makes you feel all light and fuzzy inside it. It tweaks your state of mind. You could possibly use it for cleaning wounds. That's about it, though. Marijuana, on the other hand, is a known healing element and remedy, and potentially even a cure, or at least something that can mitigate the pain and extend the quality of life for so many people in so many different situations. Cancer patients, people with really severe like tremors and seizures. You see the stuff that THC is doing for these people, yet the government continues to push for its legality. Let's eliminate it, let's arrest people for having marijuana, the substance that has truly never affected anyone nearly as hardcore in a negative manner as alcohol. Yet alcohol is on every single shelf. It's in your grocery stores. It's readily available. And when you turn 21, guess what? Everyone expects you to consume it. It's just shoved down your throat. it's that sort of whole culture that makes me a little bit sick. And if I've offended you, I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel. And, that, again, has very much to do with my lifestyle decisions. But, like, it's just... And I think a lot of people are going to agree with me. And a lot of people are also going to be shocked because I think a lot of people, when they hear I'm straight edge, they instantly think, oh, so you're against, like, marijuana and, like, pain medicine. No. I'm not against that stuff at all. Like, there are amazing things out there, especially the stuff going on with medicinal marijuana, that is seriously altering the lives of people who probably would just be dead. When you talk about people who have seizure problems, there are people who won't make it past like age 3. Can you imagine having your child like, and I know it's not the flawless cure, I'm not saying it doesn't have its negatives, but the fact is there are people, like you and me, our age and even older, who are able to live a sustainable and normal life, as they would call it, happy life and do things and succeed because of medicinal marijuana. Yet, as I said, it is illegal in so many states, and there are so many, elements of the government still pushing to continue to keep it illegal. Meanwhile, there's alcohol, there's booze, there's beer, there's liquor. So heavily abused by such a large percentage of the population. That's where I have the serious problem, that nothing is done about that issue. And you can just kind of step away from it all, and you can be like, hey, well, it's up to the individual. And sure, you could be like that. And I'm not going to call myself some humanitarian who's always like on looking out for like people. Man, I just want everybody to live a good life. But I guess there's nothing else I can say about that. Like I said, it's a completely different discussion. It's something that I am definitely emotional about, and that seriously pisses me off. Like, it's, how can you not be pissed off about something like that? That's just me. That's me right there for you. What else can I say? Like I said, yeah, I think the lifestyle choice that I have made has been an extremely positive influence on me throughout the length of my life. I've been able to step away from so many situations and I think progress down so many positive paths and, sort of life decisions, ultimately because of the lifestyle that I've chosen with what people call straight edge, what I call straight edge. And it's something I take very seriously. People always talking about like, oh, when you turn 21, you'll drink. Oh, when you turn this age, you drink. And I kind of just like, you don't even know me. Like, you're going to assume I'm going to start to drink. Well, how about I just roll up to you and be like, oh, how old are you? Oh, 35. Wait till you turn 40. You'll definitely start doing cocaine and heroin at 45, most likely. It's such an assumed thing in our society. And that's the thing I wish we'd get away from. I like, no one understands the whole sort of psychological element behind the fact that some people have addictive personalities. Some people can't have just one. They just can't. They consume alcohol. They take a swig of a cigarette. Boom. That's it for them. You've seriously just changed their life. And yet we readily throw it at people. We force it upon people. Like I said, it's a celebratory element. As soon as you turn 21, hey, take this. Let's see how the dice rolls for you. Maybe you'll be okay and you'll be able to have one of these every once in a while and you'll get into craft beers and fine wines and you'll be okay. Or maybe you'll turn into one of those 17.6 million people and by the age of 23 you'll have an alcohol dependency and addiction issue. Those are where my problems lie. It's how we treat the substance. It's how it's handled, inside of our society. Those are where I'm most disturbed, and that is very much why I step well away from this stuff. And while it will never be a part of my life, it will never influence my life, it will never control my life. And to get a little bit serious here at the end, if you're somebody watching this who genuinely, recognizes that you have a problem or an addiction, all I can say to you, dude, is reach out to whoever in your life will actually give a damn and care. Don't go to your friends who, the week you get out of rehab are going to shove it back down your throat. Like I said, I saw that happen with one of my very good friends, man. It goes back to the people he thought were his friends, quote unquote. And he's, 3 months later, he's back in rehab. Like, find the person who gives a damn about you, who seriously cares about your life. And, and reach out to them and say, dude, hey, girl, person that I know cares about me. I need help. Like, can you help me? Like, I know that's not an easy thing to do, and I understand. My dad is still dealing with nicotine addiction. He's been smoking cigarettes since he was 14. It's the one thing he can't break. I know it's not easy, man, but you're out there. You're young, you're old. Like, don't act like it's too late for you do what you need to do and just like get rid of it, man. Life is way too short, dude. Just do what you need to do, no matter how hard that is. This, I'm telling you right now, it is worth the suffering. I don't need to be in your position to know how worse the suffering is because I'm on the other side. I'm here. I'm here in positive land. I'm here in happy land. My life isn't controlled by these things, and I want you to be in that same place. So do what you need to do. Suffer through it and come out on top, man. Please do it for yourself. Do it for the people around you. Do it for every single element of your life moving forward. Please. And that's it, guys. Not what you're used to, right? Definitely not. And, you know, if you want to be one of those people who sits here and like picks apart everything I say, but like, dude, but what about this hole? And what about this hole? It's not about that, you know. This is my opinion. These are my thoughts. I think I've stated actually some pretty legitimate, you know, stuff here, but I'm not looking to have like a throwdown or like a, you know, a friggin' debate with somebody. This is me. This is how I think. It's about as like, you know, about as like straight up and transparent as I will ever get with you guys about this subject, because I doubt I'll ever talk about it again, or at least not for a pretty long period of time before I dive back into something like this. A lot of people asked for it, and I hope that, you know, rather than seeing any sort of negativity in what I've said or being offended by what I said, you know, you purely extract what positive element you can from this. If you're somebody who does have a problem, if you're someone who doesn't have a problem, you know, whatever it may be, and that this discussion at the end of the day, you know, does something, no matter how small, to just make things better for you moving forward. That's you know, the only thing I would like to see come out of this. And I know it's going to be a completely different impact on everyone who watches it. So that's it. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you stayed here till the bitter end at 24 minutes, I know it was long, and hopefully it didn't turn out to be just a messy ramble, and that there is actually a lot of thought and meaning behind what I've just said, because I feel when I speak about this thing that there is. And I'll see you in the next one.